futures that are, uncertain, myself included. There's a lot of unknowns going into this offseason now. And I'm going to have to take some time away for sure and clear my head and just kind of see what's going on with everything. It's really tough to get to this point, and that makes the finality of it all kind of hit you like a ton of bricks.
You can feel the disappointment in every word that he says there. And Adam Schefter back with us here. So Schefty, last week he referred to his future as a beautiful mystery. Doesn't seem quite as beautiful in the wake of that loss. So what do we think?
Because there are beautiful options out there, Greeny. He is under contract to the Green Bay Packers for the next 3 seasons. But he certainly sounds like a man who's mulling a lot of different options. And let's be very clear about this. In an NFL world that has become more and more like the NBA world, players yield more power than before. And even though he's tied to the Packers for the next 3 years under contract, Aaron Rodgers can flip this script by simply saying, I want to retire or be traded. Now, again, that's a bit extreme. They're just coming off the NFC Championship game loss, but clearly there is a lot going through his mind. And we can begin to trace all the reasons that is. I don't think he was particularly enthralled with the team picking a quarterback in the first round last spring. We go back to that, but it's real and it's there. I think he's not particularly thrilled with some of the decisions. Some of the players and teammates, their contracts are up. He knows there's uncertainty. He dictates this situation more than the team does. And so if Aaron Rodgers says, I want to be in Los Angeles or have an offseason home, then he can force that issue if he's prepared to dig in. If he wants to be in the Bay Area where he started his football career, he can force that issue if he's prepared to dig in. But we're in a time here where there's going to be unprecedented storylines. We already see Deshaun Watson beginning to do that in Houston. Now, we don't know whether Aaron Rodgers is prepared to go that route. But clearly we can say there is a lot on his mind that he has provided a glimpse of, that he has sounded about. And so we will continue to track Aaron Rodgers and where this story is leading this offseason.
All right, that's well said. And so let me bring my group in. One of the ways that we track Aaron Rodgers is by listening to Pat McAfee show, because every week McAfee has Aaron Rodgers as a guest. You have access to him that basically no person in the media has. So, Pat, after yesterday, I would ask, I guess, 2 things. Have you spoken to him? And what is your sense of where his head is relative to his future?
A great question. Great to see you, Schefter, by the way. You look fantastic.
Hey there, Pat.
Hey, thank you, Schefter. You look fantastic. Immediately following that game, I watched the press conference just like everybody else. I watched it just like everybody else. And in that moment where he mentioned the finality of it all and everything kind of hits, I think it's hard for us to take everything he's saying in that moment and kind of run with it. There's people saying he's going to retire potentially. I don't think that's the case. It feels like he still has a lot more he wants to prove from all the conversations I've had. Will he force a trade? I think that's something that people are going to have to talk about. I have not talked to him about that. You talk about LA, you talk about San Fran. I'd love to see him in Indianapolis. And whenever you go back to the draft, whenever they picked up Jordan Love, after losing in the NFC Championship and giving up 186 yards rushing before contact to the San Francisco 49ers, in that draft, they choose not to make the team better. They start preparing for the future. I, just like everybody else, and we have a diehard Packers fan in here named Ty Schmidt, who lost his mind immediately upon the draft pick because he thought it was the only selection that could piss off Aaron Rodgers. Now, I got a chance to talk to Aaron Rodgers last week about that. I actually asked him, why have you had such a good year? Is it because it's a spite year? Is it because you want to burn it all down? Larry David had a spite store that did pretty well against the Mocha Joes, but everybody assumed that Aaron Rodgers was going to burn down the entire season. He said it wasn't that. It was not a crescendo moment. It was actually his perspective on life changing into a more positive one. It's not about the situations that happen to you. It's about how you react. He said that made him a better leader this year. That made him a better teammate. It thinks he made him a better football player. So I'm not 100% sure what the future holds. I have not reached out to ask him, but I do believe there's a lot of great football left for Aaron Rodgers. So I think, now this is not him telling me this, I think we can take retirement off the table. I think we let him disappear for a couple weeks, maybe even a month or so, and let him figure out what's going on. But it would be quite a conversation piece if one of the GOATs was on the move this offseason alongside Deshaun Watson, Carson Wentz, Matty Stafford, and others. And I just hope the Indianapolis Colts get Aaron Rodgers if he is moving.
For sure. Shefty's face, that's the face of a man who isn't going to sleep for the next 3 months while all this stuff figures itself out. All right, Ryan Clark, let me come to you. As you listen to this and you hear all the perspective, what are your thoughts?
Well, listen, Shefty said that, he may force his way out. The only way that we're going to see Aaron Rodgers, if I'm the Green Bay Packers, not in a Green Bay jersey or Green Bay Packers jersey, is if he's working on the Pat McAfee show Monday through Friday, because he got to retire to get away from me. You talk about a divorce. No, I'm gonna be the dude that sits in the house, or the woman that sits in the house when his spouse or his significant other is talking all that trash. No, I'm finna leave this indoor-outdoor pool. I don't care that you got 15,000 square feet. I'm gone. I don't need to be here. And I would sit there like, go ahead and go then. Go ahead and leave. Because what they have there is working. They have Aaron Rodgers under contract until 2023. And there's no way you sit around and watch him play football this year and say that you are better off without him. And I think for him as well, he was emotional yesterday, right? You're feeling the fact that you didn't get an opportunity on fourth down. You didn't win, but you were 13-3 for the second consecutive year. You were in the NFC Championship for the second consecutive year. And more than anything, now you have a voice in that building that they have to listen to because of your leadership, because of the type of teammates you were, and because of the way you played this year. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Green It's going to be fun to see Shefty play on his 6 phones and talk to GMs, execs, and people who know more than we know. But it's still going to start the same way that it started this year with Aaron Rodgers in 12 and green and gold.
Go ahead, Shefty.
Let's just be very clear. He's got options, and none of us know what those options are and what he's going to pursue. We know what they are. We don't know what he's going to decide. I agree with Pat. He's not retiring. He doesn't. But if he tells the Green Bay Packers, I'm retiring if I'm coming back to Green Bay, which is one of his options, and I don't know what he'll do, that would be something where he could force the issue. So, again, we'll see how this plays out. There's a lot that he has to decide. It's so fresh after a loss. He doesn't know how it's going to go. But
good thing we drafted his replacement then.
Well, that is complicated, Dan Orlovsky, right? Is that what they did last year was they basically started the clock ticking on the rest of his career in Green Bay. Now, they can try and undo that. But I think the point Shefty is making right now is that Aaron is going to have to go along with that. And it remains to be seen, Orlovsky, if he is willing to.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see this from 2 different vantage points, right? Like, if someone wants to tell me that Aaron Rodgers is going to want out of Green Bay because he disagrees with some of the decisions or he's unhappy with some of the relationships, I can buy into that. I can buy into him going, you shouldn't have drafted Jordan Love in the first round, and you should have gotten me someone in the second round, or you should have given me the opportunity on fourth down, and that's going to create some strain in the head coach quarterback relationship. I can buy into that. But I can't buy into the fact that someone telling me Aaron Rodgers wants to leave because he also thinks that there's a better football option for him out there. This guy's got 8,000 yards, 74 touchdowns, and 9 picks over the last 2 years under Matt LaFleur. There is no upgrade football-wise. So this decision would be strictly because of the emotional or lack thereof attachment to the organization.
That's fair. Dominique, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that it's just that. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is good enough to go somewhere else and make them as good and perform as well, especially if he goes somewhere like LA where they have a good defense and it won't be all on his back. So I think you couldn't talk yourself into believing it's a better football situation. And Pat brought up Curb Your Enthusiasm to start this segment. And all I can think about is how my man Leon called him Long Ball Larry. And Aaron Rodgers is Long Ball Larry. He can go wherever the hell he wants. And they get good all of a sudden. So you guys keep talking this emotional attachment nonsense if you want. Aaron Rodgers is going to go outside and say, hey, baby, I'm going to get a pack of cigarettes from the corner store, and y'all ain't never going to see that bad man again.
That emotional attachment stuff, that's garbage. We just saw a quarterback leave New England, go to Tampa Bay, take a team that hadn't been to the playoffs because in 13 years and go to the Super Bowl. Dan, a better football option. If Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to go to LA and take the Rams to the Super Bowl, or San Francisco and take the 49ers to the Super Bowl, that's what he can do. He can do whatever he wants.
He can do that, Dan.
That good gospel, Adam.
You cannot, first of all, you cannot use Tom Brady as an example. New England stunk. He left that roster because it stunk. Second of all, the Rams can't afford him. Like, they don't have a first-round pick. What are they going to give Green Bay? Like, yes. Could you sit here?
No, you're missing the point.
Dan, listen to Schefter, Dan, for 1 second.
Tell him.
Yes.
Teams can do anything they want. Teams can do anything. They find, and if Aaron Rodgers tells Green Bay, and I'm not telling you he will, but if he tells them I'm not showing up there again and I want to go play in LA, guess what? Sure. The Packers are stuck.
Stuck, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Stuck.
yeah, I
Orlovsky.
get that, Jeffy. I get that. Like, there's the
Don't you come
1%
back
chance.
and Shefty.
I get
Shefty
that there's
knows all.
the 1% chance that he's going to go. I don't want to go to Green Bay, and it's the
We don't know
Rams
what
or
he's
bust.
thinking.
But at the end of the day, Green Bay's not going to let him walk for like a 4th-round pick. You know,
No, of course
the
not.
Rams only have so much ammo.
Oh, Dan, so dramatic. They're not going to let him walk for a 4th-round pick.
Dramatic?
No, doy, pal. Deshaun Watson, what? He hates the owner of the team. He wants the hell out of there. That's not because of football. It's an emotional situation. The same thing with Aaron. It's not because of football. He hates the situation. It's going to be 3 first-rounders, 4 first-rounders. You get Aaron on your team, though, guess what happens? Super Bowl, just like Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
First-rounder.
You got old heads ring chasing down to Tampa who used to go up to New England. I'd assume if Aaron went somewhere else, you get all the old heads going to wherever the hell Aaron's going, especially if it's a warmer climate like Los Angeles. Now, granted, I hope it's not that. I hope it's Indianapolis. But what we're saying, Dan, is Aaron can do whatever the hell he wants because he's
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, Dan.
Right.
Okay, maybe
Agree
you
with that.
and realize that that's the case.
I'm not disagreeing with Rodgers having the ability to do what he wants. What I'm pointing out is the fact that he's got line in football, one of the best receivers in football. Like, there's a lot of really good football in Green Bay. So if he's going to want his way out, it has to be to a place that he thinks is at least on par, and there's not a lot of rosters.
Yelling like heathens. Relax.
I will just say this.
They could stick Aaron Rodgers basically on a Pop Warner team, and they'd be competitive. He could take where he wants. Okay, and I was
on
going to say
fire today.
again. Well, there's ties in California. Just think logically.
He's only been to one Super Bowl, y'all.
He's
Relax.
lost his last 4 playoff games or last 4 conference championship games. He has his options. Let's see what he thinks.
Yes. And I will merely button it, and it's spectacular from all of you, by saying that in all the years I've been covering football,